Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name is Deshaun. Today I'm here to review the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode For the World is Watching. Now this episode is more in line with episode 1, where it's more character based and more about the individual characters and how they feel. And this episode in particular focuses a bit more, well, I'd say mostly about 70% of it, maybe 60, focuses on Carly Morgenthau and her crusade to help the helpless, to be more, in general, because it's made abundantly clear, at least it was made clear in last episode and the episodes prior, that when these, I guess when the, what did they call it? The blip happened, which was everyone returning, a lot of people got screwed, particularly people who had risen up and, had gotten housing and gotten homes, got kicked out of those homes when more important, more powerful people came back. And, because there's just less space now. There was a lot of space, now there's less space. And a lot of people got put in these camps and whatnot, as you saw in that last episode. And it's made abundantly clear that Carly is fighting against oppression, is fighting against what she feels is oppression, and she's willing to do whatever it takes. Now, that is who we focus on for the most part. But there are some great sequences in this episode, and this is probably the darkest episode of the entirety of the show. Might be one of the most darkest, chilling, most just imagery, amazing imagery scenes in the entirety of the MCU. There are two scenes in this episode that I particularly think will go down in history as some of the best scenes in the MCU. It will be talked about. They will be remembered for, when we talk about the MCU, when we talk about these characters, especially and it's funny because those two scenes start and tail end this episode. Now the episode starts with a flashback to Wakanda 6 years ago, which would have been right around the time Bucky had just gotten the stuff taken out of his head by Shuri. He was sitting there with he was in Wakanda. It actually shows Wakanda, but it kind of pans away to a forest right next to Wakanda, because the Dora Milaje Ayo, who is the one you saw at the end of episode 3, Ayo, that's Ayo. Ayo was the one who told Black Widow, move or be moved. That's her name, Ayo. Ayo is with Bucky as he's on his knees, and she's got to test out to see if those phrases don't work anymore. And she's saying the words to him, and he is just, Sebastian Stan is just acting his ass off. He is great in this sequence. The emotion on his face as he's just so terrified to lose control again, to become that man again. He doesn't want to go back, and he's so terrified, and he's just like, I don't know. And she's like, we have to do this. I won't let you hurt anyone, James. And, and she's saying the words, and as she's saying the words, he's getting emotional, he's crying, but he's thinking about all the things he's done. It's like all the weight of all the lives he has taken that weren't even his fault because it wasn't really him. The weight of it all just crashes on him, and he's just breaking down in tears as she's saying the trigger words. And when she gets to the last trigger word and says it, and she pauses, looks down at him and says, "You are free." And he's still crying, but this smile comes across his face. And it's just an emotional scene in general. It was a beautiful scene. It was well done. Sebastian Stan, kudos. And then it cuts to real time, and he's face to face with her in real time. And I don't want to, I'm gonna just paraphrase here, like I always do. But the general gist of their conversation was, you know better. Was she just looking at him and, you know better, you know what he did to us, you know what we've done for you, how dare you break, why is he out? And him and Bucky just basically saying, look, I know what you did, but I need him. And we need him for what we're doing. We're not comfortable with this either. And it's clear that Bucky has rapport with Wakanda, particularly Ayo, because the fact that she was willing to give him 8 hours, that's what it is her saying, you got 8 hours, and then we're coming to get Zemo. The fact that she was willing to do that at all means that they have good rapport with each other, and he has good rapport in Wakanda, and they respect him, and they consider him almost like a Wakandan in a certain kind of sense. So, but, she gave him that time limit. So he goes back, sees Zemo and Sam, and tells them about what's going on. They come up with the plan. They come up with an idea, a plan to go seek out Carly, because they figure out that she must because they figure out where the this woman I think her name is Mama Danya, I think that's her name, who died in the last episode. They figure out where she was being kept, or where she died, and they go over there looking for her, and they can't really find anyone. No one's talking to them. At a certain point, Sam kind of encounters his teacher while they're looking for him, who kind of tells him like, yeah, man, like they're not gonna help us. You're not gonna help us. You can't help us. And Zemo's still being Zemo, kind of squirming around. He got some information out of some kids, you know, trying to get as much leverage as he can because he knows the Wakandans are coming after him. They're still having their interesting philosophical debates, but it's just more of an extension of what you heard, what they were talking about on the plane. Just extensions about what the super soldier serum means and what superpowered people mean, and like that. Well, Zemo believes all superpowered people are bad because he believes if you have power like that, like godly power, you can only be one thing. And of course, but admittedly, Zemo did admit that Steve Rogers was the exception to the rule. He admitted that. He openly admitted that Steve Rogers is the exception to the rule. He is genuinely a man who did not let the power turn him into anything else. But he doesn't believe anyone else is capable of that. He believes anyone else with superpowers has to die. But one thing leads to another. When they venture out to go find Carly Morgenthau, when they because they kind of figured out where the funeral is being held for Mama Danya. Lo and behold, John Walker and Lamar Hopkins shows up. Battlestar and the new Captain America show up. And they kind of have a tit for tat for a second there, of course, because John he's trying to be in control, but he can't be in control. His inadequacies really start to show their heads in this part. And, Sam's saying, look, let me talk to her first, and maybe I can talk her down. And this is the part of the episode where I realized what was going to happen later, because while John is still fighting Sam on how to approach this situation, they all agree that this is, that they have to take her down and that they're here to do the same thing, but they just can't agree on how to approach it. Lamar goes, what's the harm in letting Sam try to talk her down? It'd be a lot easier, it'd be a lot safer, it's probably the right thing to do. And then John goes along with it, which goes to show that Lamar is actually John's conscience. He's his Jiminy Cricket. He's the person that's telling him this is what you probably should do. It's okay. Like, he is the calming force, the only thing keeping John in line from snapping. And right then and there, you kind of knew where it was gonna head. But they find Carly. Sam's talking her down. He's talking her down. They actually have a heart-for-heart, and you really get to understand that it's so clear that she's just, like, the lines have just gotten so blurry for her that, like, she's just, like I said, the lines have gotten blurry. Like, and even Sam admits, she's like, I agree with basically everything you're saying, except the way you're going about it. I don't agree with the way you're going about it. And it's so clear that, like, at this point, it's really clear, because, like, literally, you got John outside waiting for Sam, just pacing back and forth, staring at the shield, all pumped up, while Sam is calmly having a conversation with this girl, and it's actually working. He's actually starting to talk her down, or maybe not talk her down, but get her to come to a place where she might, they might come to an understanding, some type of ground, But then Walker comes walking up. John comes bashing up in there, doing what he usually does, which is fuck something up. And she takes off. They can't find her. Zemo almost kills her. He catches her off guard. Zemo starts shooting at her, and she has all the serums on her right now. Like, she just because you learned last week's episode that they had 20 vials. For some reason, she only has like 10 on her. So I don't know where the other ones went. Maybe she used more. Maybe she used more on more people than we know about. But like, all I know is Zemo starts stepping on those vials, starts destroying the serums because he doesn't want any super soldiers at all. And John comes in, smacks Zemo in the head, and John picks up one sample and keeps it on himself. You know what's gonna happen. But one thing leads to another. The Dora Milaje, they get back to the house. John shows up trying to demand Zemo, and is like, okay, they're just like, come on, we still need him. And then the Dora Milaje show up and fuck people up. They fuck up John and Battlestar. It's kind of a funny bit with Falcon and Zemo, and I'm just like, should we help them? I don't know. But there's a nice bit, really sad bit too, where once Falcon and Bucky get involved to try to stop them, which, by the way, this really just shows how ridiculously badass Dora Milaje are. That granted, Bucky and Sam weren't fighting, but so hard because they're like, but they just fucked up everybody in that room. And while they were fighting, conveniently, Zemo snuck out. Turns out there was a freaking tunnel underneath the tub, like, cause he, like, underneath the tub, cause Sam made a joke. He's like, he just pulled the El Chapo on us, and you don't know El Chapo, you know, drug lord had tunnels underneath various houses. You know, he's kind of well known for the tunnel thing, so that's a pretty funny bit too. It turns out Bucky's arm can be removed. Not like if you know how, it could just be taken off, because fucking Ao just went beep boop boop, and his arm just went poosh. Like, that's it. It was like, damn, okay. But anyways, Carly comes up with the solution. She thinks she doesn't need to really kill Sam, but she just needs Sam, but she really wants to kill Captain America. You know, the symbolism of that would be a big deal. So she wants to separate them. So what she does is she calls Sam's sister, Sarah, and she vaguely threatens her and tells her to tell him to meet her at a certain spot. Sam and Bucky go and meet her there, you know, and it becomes abundantly clear that Carly is like, oh no, she's just baiting us. She doesn't really want, you know, just something else she's going after. Now, I didn't mention this because I didn't think it was, you know, too much to mention, but early in the episode, Sam did call Sharon and asked her, could he get some surveillance? Could he get some eyes from above? And Sharon at that moment messaged Sam and said, John's walking into a trap. So Sam and Bucky scramble to go get to John before he gets killed. They don't know he's taking the serum. He's taking the serum. And, you know, they're going in there. It's so interesting seeing John with the shield and the shield and the freaking gun, because, you know, it's very reminiscent of Captain America and one of the first scenes you see of Captain America in the first Avengers movie. Not the first Avengers movie, Captain America, the first Avenger. In the first Avengers movie is him coming through the door with the shield, and it kind of was like a modern day version of that, so that was actually kind of a cool shot too. But it becomes abundantly clear that he has super soldier serum when Lamar gets kidnapped and he starts fighting one of the, you know, flag smashers, and he throws the shield and it gets launched into a wall. Just very similar to how what happened when Steve would throw a shield. And he's just fucking this dude up. He knocks this dude down the wall. Like, Bucky and them get there. They're like, okay, we're here to save you. And he's screwing that dude up. And they're like, Sam's just like, whoa, what did you do? And like a great little fight happens right here where they're throwing down with the flag smashers. One thing leads to another though, and Lamar dies. He gets punched and smashed into a pillar, and his neck snaps. Well, sort of, something like that. Whatever happened, it was definitely internal. And I know a lot of people might go, well, they were punching people before they didn't die. But you notice, he didn't die from the punch. He got hit with the punch. He died from hitting the pillar. He didn't die from getting punched. So clearly, like, they can punch hard. They probably can punch someone in the chest and kill them. But I guess someone in tactical gear can take a punch from a super soldier. It just, you know, it's gonna hurt. You're gonna fucking have like a bruised. All your shit gonna be broke, but you're not gonna die from it. But he died from hitting the pillar. He died from bam. He hit the pillar, and the pillar cracked. He clearly hit that damn pillar really hard. Crack. He died. And at that very moment, like, the flag smashers themselves realized, oh my god, that, you know, he wasn't supposed to die. They were there for Captain America, and they're like, shit, all right, let's get out of here. You know, let's regroup, and they left. And needless to say, my boy John snapped. He snapped, he jumped out of the window, he ran down one of the flag smashers, and the guy, he didn't even do it. He was just like, and he hit him in the back, in the middle of like this area, this wide open area where all these people and tourists, people are watching, and he brutally murdered him with the shield. This man, as he raises his hands up and says, I didn't do it, it wasn't me, he brutally bashes him with the shield. Now, I'm not gonna go out there and say that's an allegory for anything that happened, you know, in the recent months, you know, recent years, but because the thing about it is, he's not an innocent, he was a part of a terrorist organization, but he was laying on the ground, he gave himself up, he had his hands up like this, and you proceeded to brutally murder him in front of countless people. How else is that supposed to look? And the imagery, this imagery that I think was going to be, for me, iconic imagery in the entire Captain America franchise in the MCU, of John Walker standing with blood covered all over the shield, and the imagery of him tarnishing the shield. You don't deserve that shield. You are not Captain America. You tarnish the shield. There's blood all on the shield. There's a metaphor for having blood on your hands. This is definitely that. The world was watching you do it. I can't wait to see what happens next. Like, it just went to a dark place, and I absolutely loved it. I gave this episode a 9.5. Now, I didn't have as much fun with it as last week's episode, but this episode, man, for the darkness, the storytelling, the character stuff with Bucky and and Carly and John. I mean, it was some stuff, man. It's just the lines are so blurry, dude. Because even I've already seen some people who went, I understand why he snapped, but dude, you can't do that, man. You can't do that. You just can't do that. But yeah, I love this episode. This episode was definitely like, it was the darkest episode. It was the darkest episode. And like by the time it ended, last week's episode ended and I was like, yeah! Like, you know what I mean? I was like, wow! Wakanda! Awesome. This week's episode ended and I was just like, ooh, man! Ooh, boy, oh boy. Anyways, people, thank you for joining me on the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe, and check. And have you seen this latest episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier? Please go check it out. I thought it was great. Thank you, guys.